Welcome back, Fantasy Endgame fam, Fantasy Endgame baseball players. We are back wrapping up another week of Fantasy Baseball and getting you ready for another week of Fantasy Baseball. As always, we are going to bring you our favorite two-start streamers for the week ahead. We're getting close to the playoffs. Maybe you're fighting for that playoff spot. Maybe you just want to hold on to the number one spot, secure your spot in the playoffs, whatever it is. You want to take advantage of those two starters who can help you twice in the same week. So let's jump right into it with our first two-start streamer. An interesting one here, an Angels pitcher, Tyler Anderson. So you look at Tyler Anderson in his last two starts. Fantastic against the Yankees. And then got lit up by the Blue Jays. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? But then you take a deeper look and you see some very noticeable home road splits at home, which is weird because I thought Anaheim was like a pitcher's park, but at home, a 4.46 ERA, 1.35 whip. On the road, a 1.81 ERA, a 0.94 whip. Only 3 wins at home, 6 wins in 10 road starts. But guess what? He gets 2 road games this week, KC, and then the revenge game against Toronto for them lighting him up. I guess it's a revenge game. So, Pierre, why is Tyler Anderson the number one two-star streamer this week?
Yeah, it's interesting because Anderson is rostered in a lot of competitive leagues. I mean, obviously having a pretty good year, but in fantasy, not universally rostered. In fact, just barely over 60%. I was kind of surprised, but of course, you know the deal. He's on a bad team, doesn't get a ton of wins, and he's not a high strikeout pitcher, right? So you know those two categories you're somewhat lacking. But also he might have been dropped in some leagues because his last start wasn't good, right? Wasn't good at all. And so some people might have moved on. And you would think having 2 road starts would be a bad thing. But in this case, like you said, it's very good. He has a very pronounced home road split. He's much better on the road. He's lights out on the road. He's an ERA under 2, a whip under 1, and somehow wins twice as many games on the road. So the fact he's got 2 road games is great. KC and Toronto, not bad at all. So if he's available, I think you have to scoop him up this week just because of that.
All right, now let's get to some guys that might be more widely available. Starting with San Diego pitcher Martin Perez was traded there 3 weeks ago. Gets the Twins in San Diego and then the Mets, both in San Diego, which is good. Good pitcher park there. Now, this is not a StatCast hero, but he's been a hero since coming to San Diego. In his 3 starts with the Padres, 1.96 ERA, 0.76 whip, 21 strikeouts in 18 innings. I picked him up to stream him, and I was going to keep rolling with him. So what do you like about him this week?
I only like him because he seems to really like San Diego. Yeah, this is a guy that I typically have zero interest in. It's a soft tosser, a veteran. He can, the crafty lefty who can get by, need some innings once in a while, doesn't strike out a lot of hitters, yada, yada. So only streamable, but I mean, he's like a new man now since the trade deadline, his last 3 starts. It's not going to last forever, of course, but I always say when somebody is, in the zone, this happens with pitchers and hitters, you don't question it, you roll with it, eventually that regression will come. Just hope it doesn't come this week. But again, you can't ignore what he's done to get ERA under 2, whip well under 1 in his 3 starts since going to the Padres. And the strikeout numbers have gone up. That's what's really kind of eye-opening, 21 strikeouts in 18 innings. So just roll with it. Just don't question it. Go with him. He's got 2 starts. Not scary offenses he's facing. Minnesota, good, but not always good on offense. And then the Mets, very up and down. So just go with it.
All right, now a guy that I think we've kind of been waiting to feel like we can go with him every start is Shane Baz. Did finally have a nice outing. His last outing against Houston, 7 innings pitched, 6 strikeouts. Only gave up, looks like maybe 3 runs in that game. So it's Oakland, which is obviously a fantastic matchup, but then the Dodgers. So mixed bag here as far as the starts go. Are you betting on Shane Baz finally getting back to or getting to where we want him to be?
I am. I've been preaching patience with Baz, been saying, not an absolute must hold in every league. I mean, it really depends, but the talent is there. I just think you've got to be patient. And sure enough, he's starting to hopefully pay off now. He did his last start against a pretty tough team at Houston. At Oakland, of course, there's no question there, right? And then the Dodgers is not ideal, but now, again, looks like they might be without Freddie Freeman. Got a finger issue. More than likely not going to be, batting at that time when Baz is facing him. So, yeah, I'm going to trust the talent here. It's just interesting, the talent discrepancy, arm talent discrepancy between a guy like Baz and like Martin Perez, very different. But Perez is on a competitive team. Baz is not. These are very different type of situations. Baz is a pitcher who I think gets the strikeouts. He's got great matchups this week. I'm going to remain patient here. He's got 2 good starts. I'm going to roll with him if he's available. And a lot of people did drop him, right? People just waiting, forget it. He's not going to do anything. It takes time. The guy misses that much time. So I'll pick him up. He's definitely available in about 60% of Yahoo leagues too.
There you go. And now how about a guy who also is now in an improved situation? That's Yusei Kikuchi, now of the Houston Astros. Since coming over to Houston, he's been great. 24 strikeouts his last 3 starts. Yeah, he's been good. I'm spacing out here. Over the season, he's got 132 innings pitched, 154 strikeouts. Now, the issue this week, he does get Boston first start. That shouldn't scare you. But then he does get the Orioles. That's a little scary. And the other issue here is you're not going to get a quality start. He hasn't had a quality start since July 9th, and he's only gone 6 innings pitched twice. But if you're in like a points league, or you're just looking for that guy to get you, strikeouts, this is the guy who can do it, right?
Well, Kikuchi is a mixed bag, and he's also somebody since the trade deadline, since going to a new team, has been really good. He will get you strikeouts for sure, and he's been excellent, like you mentioned, as far as getting strikeouts just since becoming an Astro. But this is where it depends. We always say know your league settings. You want to get a win? Sure, he can get you a win. If you want to get a quality start, forget it. Like, it's pretty much out of the question. He will not get you a quality start because he almost never goes 6 or more innings. And since going to Houston, but just in general, I think he's gone 6 innings twice in the last 3 months. He will not get you a quality start. So if you're in a league like ours and we use QS instead, it doesn't mean he's not startable. It just means you're not going to get that from him. But he does make up for it with strikeouts. But the reason also he's not higher on this list, despite being one of the more, talented pitchers and getting those strikeouts and possibly wins, is the schedule. I'm nervous. Kikuchi always makes me nervous. I know he's been good in Houston. He's always a guy who can have one of those starts where he gets lit up. So I would be nervous. And honestly, even in a league like ours, where we use quality starts, I probably wouldn't stream him. I'd prefer a guy like Baz, which is why I got him here. But he does have some upside.
Okay, there you go. At least you can always count on those strikeouts. And now, speaking of a guy who can get you a win but not a quality start, that is Gavin Stone of the Dodgers. Got 10 wins this year, but his last quality start was way back in June. Now, when you look at his season-long stats, you see a 3.63 ERA, 1.26 WHIP. That's good, but he's been kind of like a roller coaster this year. Sometimes he pitches great, sometimes he gets lit up. But he does have a very nice schedule this week. It's the Mariners, that lineup, not scary at all. And then the Rays, far from a scary lineup. So Gavin Stone, Kikuchi, kind of the same guys here?
Yeah, pretty similar, except Kikuchi does get you more strikeouts. That's why Stone is lower. The fact that he gets so many wins, I guess, shouldn't be surprising because he's a Dodger. But again, you have to know your league settings. In a quality starts league, definitely lower, as far as the rankings here. But the ratios are good. Stone's got very good, numbers at home, especially. He's at home twice this week. Definitely not scary offenses against Tampa. Really strong consideration. So they're going to need to keep him in that rotation. Look, he looks like a pretty solid rest of season stash in leagues because the Dodgers just cannot avoid injuries in the pitching staff. So I think Stone, the question with him is, would he stick in the rotation? And now he just has to because they can't field like a 5-man rotation. But I like him. He's got the talent. Again, the only knock on him really this week is if you're looking for a quality start. He doesn't go deep into games, but otherwise, I think he's a pretty solid pick.
All right, there you go. Now let's talk about some guys not quite like the last two. And let's start with the first, the only Zebby in MLB history. Zebby Matthews just had his major league debut against Kansas City Royals, went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 earned runs, struck out 5, so not bad. Not bad there for your first start. Gets a couple of fantastic matchups this week. San Diego, and then St. Louis. Definitely very good streams there. So, Zebby Matthews, I did notice you picked him up in our league. Are you starting him twice this week?
I am. Now, it's interesting because some sites don't have him listed as a 2-start streamer because I don't know that his next start has officially been announced because he's definitely going to face San Diego in a couple days. But look, this is a rookie who just got called up. If he bombs completely in this start, he may not be around for the next one after that. There's no guarantee, but I like him. I mean, I think he showed well enough in his first start that obviously he didn't just earn a second start. He's going to earn a little bit more of an extended look. Twins also a team. They're going to need him. I like Matthews better than Festa, even though Festa got called up first, and he's starting to kind of come into form. I think Matthews definitely has better strikeout upside. And what I like, and I always say this, and it's still true, I like pitchers who show supreme command. He will not walk batters. He will not blow up your whip. If nothing else, look, maybe a team gets to him for a home run or two. Maybe he does wind up getting hit hard on occasion, but he's not going to beat himself. He's not going to, all of a sudden just balloon your whip because he couldn't find the strike zone. He will find the strike zone, and I like that he's going to get pretty good matchups against teams that do strike out a fair amount. So I'm rolling with Zebby, obviously. I picked him up last week. I'm sticking with him. So we'll just, again, it's a rookie pitcher. I'm not going to just all of a sudden put him at the top of the list because he is a rookie pitcher. You never know, but I do like the upside here.
All right, there you go. If you weren't willing to gamble with the rookie pitcher. Now, if you want a guy who's the opposite of Kikuchi, that might be Jonathan Cannon. He's thrown 80 innings this year for the mighty Chicago White Sox. Only 55 strikeouts in those 80 innings and only 2 wins, predictably, because he's on the White Sox. But he does have 6 quality starts. He's got a quality start in 3 of his last 4 games. And he gets a great schedule this week at San Francisco and then Detroit. So, is this the floor play to Kikuchi's ceiling play?
Ooh, floor play might be a little strong. I mean, this is another rookie pitcher who happens to be for the worst team in the majors, but I mean, he's not getting his strikeouts, not very many. He's almost definitely not getting any wins, although they do face Detroit later, so you never know. But yeah, he could get you a quality start, but also I think he's somewhat of a floor play for ratios. I don't feel like he's going to get rocked, especially by the Giants or the Tigers. I mean, honestly, if this schedule was different, if he was getting Boston and Baltimore like Kikuchi, like forget it. I would just not even consider him. But this is your deep league play. This is your Zebby Matthews got picked up. I really want a 2-start streamer, who can give me a quality start or potentially, some help. Okay, go for Cannon. But that's it. We are getting a little bit into desperation territory. But again, this guy, there are a lot more 2-start streamers than this that will be out there this week. And there are going to be several guys I don't mention. So I do like at least Cannon better than some of the other players out there. I'm probably never going to mention like Jose Urena or pitchers like that. So I will say Cannon is worth a shot in deeper formats.
All right. Then how deep does the league have to be for an A's pitcher like Joey Estes? So on the season so far, 87 innings, only 66 strikeouts, 4.72 ERA, 1.21 WHIP. But in August, a 3.86 ERA, a 1.19 WHIP. And he gets the Rays, which is a great matchup. And then the Brewers, who I feel like they're one of those teams where they can get hot, but they can also be awful. So is this the super duper deep league special?
Kind of. I mean, look, the A's, it's not it's not as bad as the White Sox. It's not a bad park situation there for a pitcher. Um, they do have 2 home games, or at least SS will have 2 home games this week, and one of them is Tampa Bay. So I like the schedule. We saw JP Sears give us great value about 2 weeks ago. We've seen at times Estes himself flash. Look, since the All-Star break, you mentioned it. He's been much better. This is also a thing. You should know this already. By the time we're looking in mid-August, let's stop looking at season-long stats to make our decisions. We have to look at what have they done in the second half of the season. For some players, it's the same thing. For some players, it's like a whole new season, right? They just act different, for whatever reason. So in the second half, 4 starts, he's got a 3.28 ERA. That's not too bad. And the strikeout numbers aren't great, but still, you want a chance for a quality start or maybe a win. The schedule is not too bad here. So, yeah, I think Estes is still one of my favorite of the bunch for deeper leagues.
All right, so there you go. There are Pierre's favorite 2-star streamers this week. And, of course, if you have questions about any other streamers or pitchers or hitters, that's what we're here for. We are about to get to your questions. Let me first, once again, remind you, Underdog Fantasy still going strong. You still got a chance tonight. Yankees, Tigers. Get your pick'ems in. And, of course, if you've never tried Underdog Fantasy and you want to try it out, go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up using promo code ENDGAME because that's going to get you a special pick'em, a free pick, basically, and up to $250 in bonus cash. And, of course, if you are getting ready for fantasy football season, which I know a lot of us are, they've got fantasy football drafts going all the time. You can see all different price ranges, everything from $5 up to, I think, $500 to $1,000. There you go, $1,000. Prize pools up to $15 million. Somebody's going to become a millionaire this year. So definitely go check it out. It's a lot of fun if you haven't already. Okay, time to get to your questions. And, of course, as we do, we're going to get to as many as we can because we are going to go do an underdog draft after this on the football channel. So we'll get to as many as you can. If, like Antoine here, you are impatient, you don't want to wait, you want to jump the line, you can always drop that super chat. Or if you just want to say thanks or you're just feeling generous, you can drop the super chat and we will take your question right away. All right. Antoine says, why the hell they don't just give Kettle more rest? I'm upset. He needs hopefully a short-term replacement. Cole Keith, Spencer Horwitz, Will Wagner, waiver wire shout out. Polanco. Any of these guys excite you?
Yeah, it's frustrating. First of all, a guy like Kettle who's been so good all year, he's been a stud. There's little nagging injuries. I mean, at least, well, I don't know. Sometimes you feel like it's better if they could just put him on the IL, right? Because then at least you can put him in your IL spot and pick up somebody without worrying about it. So yeah, he might miss a couple more games. I'll say right now, Will Wagner was very interesting. He's been good when given the chance, but that's the whole point, is the given the chance thing. Like even today, he didn't start. I'm going to have to say Wagner is really more for a deep league, AL only type right now until he gets more consistent playing time. Horwitz is the better pick. Horwitz isn't there every day. Horwitz was hitting cleanup the other day. And today, I think he was hitting 6th. So, I'm going to have to say Horwitz is my favorite pick here. Colt Keith, he's cooling down, obviously, from his torrid pace that he had just initially off of the second half starting. And that team is still, it's just mix and match. And they're just trying anything, which is nice to see a team like that just go full-blown youth movement. I mean, they might as well. But that does limit to some extent, his run RBI opportunities. So I'm just going to say go with Horwitz out of this group and hope that Kettle comes back soon.
All right, there you go, Antoine. Hopefully he's back soon for you. Jahoni just wants to say thanks to your guys' advice. This whole team is set and he's in first. Congrats.
Nice. That's what we want to see.
That is a good feeling right there. Tristram, what's up? Good afternoon. All right, Harry wants to know, Spencer Torkelson, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Is he worth rostering? He's got Casas, Berger, and Burleson at first base.
Perfect segue. Just talked about the Tigers. They're even willing to try Spencer Torkelson again. No, I mean, look, we knew this was coming. Right? At some point, they had to call him back up. Right? I'm gonna wait and see. I mean, obviously, his first game back was good, but we want to see more than just a couple of hits. We want to see more than one game. We need to see the home runs. The bombs have to start coming. Otherwise, what is he doing for you? He's not a guy who's going to hit 300. And I just said this Tigers offense now, which is filled with rookies, they're not going to score that many runs, just to be honest, not this year. This is basically giving guys an extended look and getting some experience and some tryouts for next year. They just want Torkelson to just get back into major league mode and just show that he can be the guy, be the cornerstone there for the rest of, I don't know, the rest of this decade, hopefully. I mean, that's what he should be. So, look, I'm obviously you're sticking with Berger. You're good with Berger. You got to play him. Casas, yes, you're good. I'm not going to drop Burleson for Torkelson right now. I need to wait and see. You're good enough with those three. You don't need Torkelson. Torkelson right now is more like a speculative ad. He's a stash. He's somebody that you can just kind of hang on and see what if it happens. But I don't want to put him in a starting lineup just yet.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Harry. All right, Matthew. Tommy Edman will be activated from the IL tomorrow. I actually did pick him up for that activation because I've gone from having what I thought was a plethora of outfielders to not enough outfielders because I've got Yelich, Jazz on IL, Soler, who knows. So anyways, are you activating Tommy Edman off of IL tomorrow? What about Ronaldo Lopez? Same deal activating from IL. Okay, are you activating these guys off of IL or are you just no thanks?
Well, let's start with Lopez. Yes, his injury wasn't that serious. Obviously, he didn't spend that much time on IL. I know we always felt like this was inevitable, right? This is somebody who had never pitched as a starter this many innings. He, converted from the bullpen and was not only incredible. I mean, he's your ERA leader, and you feel like though he was pushing it too much, kind of like with the Garrett Crochet thing. It's like, okay, he can't pitch that many innings without getting hurt. And okay, here we go. He got hurt. And then you're like, okay, he can't have an ERA that low. He's going to start to get hard. So when he got hit hard, like, okay. But I still think he has good value. And I still think he can be effective down the stretch. I don't think you just drop him to the waiver wire. If he's back and they think he's good, and obviously the Braves need him, yeah, I'm going to activate him. I'm going to keep him. Edman is a different thing. I feel like now that he's a Dodger, he's not going to get consistent playing time. Like, I know they just got rid of, Rosario? I think they dropped him. But I don't see Edman being nearly an everyday player. I mean, I guess with Freeman out, then maybe that opens up some at-bats. But still, this is a team that's going to continue to mix and match. The playing time is going to be inconsistent. He hasn't played all year. It's just too many ifs. So I'm not going to, again, outside of a deep league, NL only league, I'm really not going to put that much stock into Tommy Edman.
All right, there you go. All right, Dexter wants to know Jorge Soler, who I just picked up, and then he got hurt, although it doesn't sound serious, or Luis Robert Jr. in a points league.
Oh, man. Yeah, Soler's day-to-day, so not the best time to pick him up. I guess I would have to say Robert by default because, even since before he got hurt, it's not like Soler, his reunion with the Braves was anything great, right? I picked him up as soon as he got traded, and then I dropped him because it's like, okay, this is not sparking any sort of magic from a few years ago. I'm going to be very stubborn here. I'm going to continue to hold Luis Robert. He did have an actual good game a couple days ago. So I still feel like the talent is there. He's going to turn around. I know it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel when a guy's that bad and the team is that bad. Regression happens both ways, positive and negative. Regression is inevitable, right? I'm going to definitely go with Robert Jr. here.
All right, there you go. Hold the fort with Robert Jr. And then he's got another one. He's tired of Wilson Contreras. In a shallow points league, is there a catcher you would add in place of him?
I was going to say Contreras hasn't been that bad at all. But I guess if it's a shallow league, that makes more sense because you're expecting more. But still, Contreras is fine. He's shown some power. He drives and runs. I mean, if it's shallow league, I don't know who's available for you. You're not going to get one of those top catchers, obviously. I don't know how much better you can get than a guy like Contreras at catcher. But, I mean, I would still say, I mean, Connor Wong is still mostly hitting. He's available. So if he makes you feel better, you can go for him. He hasn't been as hot lately. You're in a points league, so you're not just going for power, right? You're going for a guy who can hit for average. So Wong makes sense to me. Austin Wells is somebody I mentioned on the waiver wire, I think last week. He's been hot the whole second half. So, if somebody hasn't picked up on Wells yet, that's somebody who I would say would be interesting to me because he's hitting for average and he drives and runs. Obviously, great lineup. So, those might be players who are available who I might consider an upgrade short term for Contreras. Contreras is still fine, but if you want to go for one of those instead, I think that's fine.
All right, and then Alberto wants to know, what about first base? He needs a streamer at first base. Any recommendations?
He says, do you have a rec for best one-start streamer?
Sorry. I don't know why I read that as first base. Okay, yes, a one-start streamer? I guess your favorite pitcher to stream this week? A one-start
Yeah, I
streamer.
think because there's only a certain number of pitchers who are going to have a two-start streaming week.
Right.
So you're talking about pitchers who might actually be available, but are only making one start. I think that's what we're going for here.
JP Sears.
I don't think
just start
right?
JP Sears. JP
like
Sears.
JP Sears.
He's a monster. He's been a monster. I don't even know who he's playing this week. Just start. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm looking because he's there. That game's not even over yet. But today, 7 2/3 innings, 9 strikeouts. Of course, a quality start. Only gave up 1 run. He's gone 7 innings in each of the last 4 starts.
He's been an absolute. I picked him up to stream him like 3 weeks ago, and I'm like, I can't drop this guy. I can't drop him. He's been too good.
48% owned. He should be out there, I would think, right?
Yeah, I don't know I don't know who he's going to face. I know they start the week against Tampa Bay, but he just pitched today, so I don't know who they face later in the week. But I was just throwing that out there because he's been underrated.
There you go. 40%. Depends on your league. I'm still picking up on occasion and streaming, not just because he has 2 starts, but Tobias Myers. It continues to not have a bad start. The last time he actually had a bad start was like a month and a half ago. He's never going to really hurt you. Not a ton of strikeout upside, but he's a good streamer. This week he gets St. Louis, it looks like. It does not scare me at all. No. So I keep picking up on Tobias Myers. He's going to start in a couple of days. I think Sears has got to be a first choice. He gets Milwaukee, it looks like, on the 23rd. So maybe that's Friday or something. Let's go a little deeper. I'll give you one more option just in case, because don't know how deep your league is. If you're looking for just a potential win, and again, just potential, because this is Tampa Bay we're talking about, but Jeffrey Springs, now that we gave up on him, what happened? He's turning it around, and he gets Oakland later in the week. So, that's a pretty good one. And I mentioned him as a pickup, not even just a streamer. It's like, just go add him. But Nick Martinez, and he gets Toronto later in the week. Nick Martinez, the only reason I didn't add him in our league, Chris, is because I already used all of my pickups for the week. So I couldn't pick up anybody because I added too many. But those are probably the best ones.
All right, there you go. And then F, just F. Are we starting Shane Baz in our lineup Tuesday at Oakland? Yes, we had Shane Baz as the number 3 2-start streamer this week, so definitely starting him against Oakland.
Yeah.
Baltimore may be questionable, but Dodgers may be questionable, but Baltimore definitely.
Right.
Baltimore definitely. All right, Dwayne Wade is back. What's up, D Wade? Thoughts on Bobby Miller? I picked him up after Gladstone went down, hoping he would bounce back. He seems like, yeah, I did the same thing, and I also dropped him, and I have not even thought about picking him back up. Are we ready to pick Bobby Miller back up?
Sadly, no, because you basically nailed it there. It's not even a physical thing anymore. I mean, obviously he was hurt all beginning of the season, came back. It doesn't look like he's limited physically. His velocity has not been down. It's command. It's mental at this point, unless maybe there is something that's bothering him that he hasn't said. But he wasn't put back on IL. He was sent down. Okay, this is a different thing. Sometimes teams, this, you've learned this very quickly. Sometimes teams, a guy will get lit up and like, it must be shoulder fatigue. He's hurt. He's go on the injured. Okay, they didn't even try to make up an injury for him. They're just like, yeah, go get some time at the AAA level. I'm not going to buy into it until I see it. I need to see it. The command has not been there. He's given up a lot of home runs, and that's the issue. If you give up too many meatballs, you're going to get hurt. That's what he's doing.
Just got rocked by St. Louis. That's never good, and only struck out one batter. So, yeah, I can pass. I can pass on too. All right, another one from Jahoni. It's Pascantino, Vinny P, a good sub for Freeman while he's out.
A good sub. Pascantino has been better than Freddie Freeman over the past month. Yes, I'm keeping Pascantino in there. I don't know who you have in your DH spot. If you have a corner infield spot, you just keep rolling with Vinny P. I mean, he's become almost an RBI machine. So, yes, definitely a good sub.
All right, roll with Vinny P. Mason, what's up, Mason? He's got 2 open spots on his team for pitching. Wants to know your thoughts on Alex Cobb.
All right, so I picked up, well, first of all, before he came off of the IL, you can remember with Cobb, he got traded, got a better situation now in Cleveland in terms of potential for wins, not necessarily park factor, but I talked about him as a stash, again, deep stash. He was barely owned, right? Nobody was really holding on to him. And then I picked him up in our league because I thought this is somebody who can get me a quality start, right? He can eat up innings. He can get you some strikeouts. He can definitely get you a win. And he was okay. I think he's going to be a floor play basically for you. He's somebody who could get you a win or a quality start. He's not going to, leave you high and dry, only get you 2 strikeouts, but I'm also not expecting 8 or 9 in a start. So I think if you're looking for pitching, and especially if you're in a weekly league, if he's got good matchups, I consider him more of a high-end streamer than I do a rest of season kind of pitcher to keep. I mean, honestly, right now, the guys we already talked about, not just as streamers, but just in general, like JP Sears, until further notice, I would rather have him. Nick Martinez, again, the way he's been pitching until further notice, I would go with a guy like him. But I think Cobb is at least a solid option for you. And this week, I don't know exactly. Let's see who he gets. Yeah, that's why I dropped him. That's right. I remember now. He gets the Yankees on the road this week. So that's why I dropped him this week, because I'm not going to start him in that matchup. But going forward, I think he could be helpful.
All right, now, so there you go. There's some options for you, or there's some thoughts on Cobb for you, Mason. Back to F. Speaking of he's been terrible, now we're going to send him on the IL. Is that what the Rays are doing with Pete Fairbanks? A few days ago, he blew a save to Arizona, got rocked by Arizona, and then today got rocked again by Arizona, blew another save. Now suddenly he's got a lat strain and he's going on the 15-day IL. So, with him out, who's it going to be?
Yeah, except with Fairbanks, I believe it because he's always hitting IL. This is nothing new for him. So, you never know which way it goes, right? But my gut says the guy is going to be Posh because he's more of a late inning option. Rasmussen, I don't see him using him in the ninth. It's Tampa, so we have no idea. It's probably going to be more than one guy, right? This is going to be kind of a mix and match situation. And they did trade from their bullpen already. They don't usually try to get cute and use somebody different. Their best reliever has been Manny Rodriguez. So I think it might make sense for him to be the guy. But if they're going to go with the veteran, the one who's been there and, and done that, it's probably Posh. But honestly, lefty righty thing, I could see both getting saves.
All right. Yeah, there you go. Maybe just a rotation to stay away from. Logan Martinez wants to know, as a Lane Train fanboy, is that Lane Thomas? He's torn. Are we still holding and waiting it out? Also, CJ Abrams has been kind of slacking for a while now. Thoughts on him? So what are your thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, I think he's got to turn it around at some point. I mean, we can't just say that being in Cleveland is going to wreck him, right? I think you're going to just bench, not cut. Remember, a week ago I did keep bench cut. What do you do with the struggling stars? Lane Thomas, I'm benching, not cutting if I can afford it, right? And this is like the same thing with a Luis Robert Jr. Not to say that Lane Thomas is quite as athletic as a guy like Robert Jr., but obviously in a much better situation. I don't ever want to just completely cut those guys, because you figure at some point they'll turn it around. So I'm benching him. I'm sort of waiting it out. CJ Abrams, he has been slacking, but the more I look into his numbers, he's kind of just doing what is expected of him. His batting average, his expected batting average, it's kind of the same as last year. He should take a small uptick in batting average. The only thing that really alarms me with CJ Abrams is I know that he's been caught stealing a lot this year. He hasn't been as effective as a base runner, but he's going to keep running. In Washington, if I remember, last time I checked, they were still leading the majors in stolen base attempts. They're going to keep running. So he'll still get you some steals. He still is on par power-wise with last year. So I think you just kind of have to keep rolling with him and hope he gets hot at some point here in the next couple of weeks.
All right, there you go. Super Dave making some moves in a keeper league. He dropped Gavin Williams and Kobe Mayo, picked up Colt Keith and Tyler Holton, then dropped Holton for Nick Pivetta. Thumbs up or thumbs down with these moves?
I'll go thumbs up. You can't afford to hold. You're saying keeper, not dynasty. I'm assuming that means you only keep a certain number or a certain round or whatever it is. Mayo is not going to be valuable to you the rest of the season. He's just not. Even if he gets recalled, you're going to see what we saw already. Limited playing time, didn't make an instant impact. The Orioles cannot afford to wait. They don't need to, right? So we can forget Mayo for this year. If you're not for sure keeping him, which I don't really think you need to, don't worry about it. Gavin Williams hasn't shown that he's worth keeping. Keith and Holton. But yeah, Holton, I don't think you have to keep him either. So, and again, I don't know how many keepers you have, but you don't have to view everybody. I think a mistake that a lot of people make in keeper leagues is feeling like every time you pick up somebody, they have to have keeper value. If you're competitive for this year, and you're not just playing for next year, just who's going to help you the next 4 or 5 weeks? That's all you need to worry about, right? You probably have good enough keepers. And who are you really picking up in the end of August that's going to be a for sure keeper over who you have? Probably not that many. Like if Junior Caminero was out there, which he really shouldn't have been in a keeper league, then okay, fine. But yeah, I think I'm on board with all these moves.
All right, well done there. Okay, back-to-back Nate, what is up? He's got too many playable options, not enough starting spots. Nito, Caminero, Adames, Ramos, Michael Harris II, Churio, and Berger are all competing for 4 spots, burning 3 bench spots. So what do you do here? Do you just hold these guys and mix and match, or do you drop some?
Yeah, look, having too many playable options is a good problem to have. Obviously, you cannot drop Caminero even if you're not playing him. There's no reason to drop Adames. Harris, of course, should be in your lineup every day now. Berger has to be in your lineup every day now. Churio is starting to turn it on. He should probably be in your lineup. I'm still holding on to Ramos. Obviously, he's not going to match what he did back in, was it July necessarily, but you keep him. Zach Nato is the one guy you don't have to hold on to. Like if you're not starting him, I think you can drop him and you can mix and match because he's not going to ever jump into the lineup over any of these guys. So I think you can drop Nito if you need, but everyone else I'm holding.
All right, there you go. Good problem to have. Deuce B wants to know, would you hold Real Muto or opt for Wells or Bart?
Not Bart. He's a guy who every once in a while will hit a few home runs and then he'll disappear. I mean, I think we can safely say he's not going to live up to his prospect hype, right? I like Wells. Am I adding him over Real Muto? I think that's too tough to do. Real Muto has not been, a league-winning catcher. He hasn't been a fantasy stud like he has in the past, but he's in that Phillies lineup. He's going to score runs. He's driving in runs. He's not really driving in that many runs this year, but he's scoring runs at least. It really depends on how deep your league is. I'm not going to go with Bart. I think if you can afford it, maybe I wouldn't mind benching Real Muto and to go with Wells in the short term right now. It's a little risky. But I don't mind Wells over Real Muto now that I think about it. Because Real Muto is not even stealing bases anymore. So what is the edge he's really giving you over any other catcher?
All right, there you go. Go get Wells. Luis Correa, what's up? What are your thoughts on Michael Kopech now looking like the closer for the Dodgers?
I might be willing to buy into Kopech for now. It's always a little scary to say that, but he looks like a different guy. Maybe he just needed a change of scenery. You already know the deal. He's always capable of having one of those outings where he walks 5 guys in an inning or, gives up a long ball. So obviously you're going to beware, but look, the Dodgers are very, very unsettled in the bullpen and the rotation. Kopech's going to continue to be effective. We know he's got the strikeout stuff. Why not just go with him at this point? I mean, they don't really seem to have a guy settled in that role. So, yeah, I can't say that he'll be the guy necessarily. This also will probably be a mix and match situation down the stretch. But he's looking like the best option right now.
All right. There you go. Benny, what's up, Benny? Good to see you. Dwayne Wade again says, thanks for answering the question on Bobby Miller. No problem. What about Bowden Francis of the Blue Jays? He has had 3 solid starts. His last 3 starts, 5 innings, 7 innings, 7 innings, at least 7 strikeouts in each of them, giving up 1 or fewer runs in each of the last 2. I mean, what are these whips? A 0.43 whip, a 0.14 whip, a 0.8 whip? Whoa, what's going on with Bowden Francis? This for real?
I remember Bowden Francis became one of those sneaky sleepers late in draft season when it looked like he was getting the 5th starting job. And then everybody who was like, I got it. I got this year's sleeper. And then you immediately regretted it because he was horrible. Maybe this is one of those second half surprises. Maybe this is a guy who finally has figured it out. So I'm hesitant. But look, I will buy into it tentatively because, again, we have to look at the second half as kind of a start over for some players. This is a perfect example. This Toronto team has officially said, without saying, yeah, we're out of it, right? There's no pressure on him now. Sometimes that's what it is, right? Sometimes players perform better when there isn't any pressure on them. So maybe he realizes this is his chance to stick on the roster for next year. I don't know what it is, but he can keep it up. I'm not going to tell you for sure. I think he will, but I think you can try him out and see what happens.
Well, I'll just say this, Dwayne Wade. I just picked him up right now, literally right now, because this week he gets the Angels. I'll take a chance on Bowden Francis this week against the Angels that he keeps it going at least for this week. We'll see after that.
Yeah.
All right, Super Dave with another one. What about the Mets ace, Paul Blackburn? He was a great 2-start streamer this week, except he was terrible in 1 start, but then he was fantastic today in the 2nd start. So hopefully you didn't give up on him after his brutal 1st start. How you feeling about him rest of the season?
Yeah, well, Blackburn, yeah, he was clearly the best option at two-start streamers this week, and facing his former team didn't do any favors. But he'll still, for the most part, give you quality starts. One thing I do like is that he will go 6 innings semi-regularly. He's not a guy who gets pulled fourth or fifth. They have him in there to eat some innings, right? That's what he is. He's not going to pitch his way out of games necessarily. So, yeah, keep going with him. I mean, he's not going to get 2 starts this week, but he seems to be a pretty solid option. I prefer him in a league that gives you quality starts. You know the strikeouts are going to be somewhat limited, but yeah, I think he's a solid hold.
And he gets the Padres this week, so shouldn't be too scared about that. All right, Dexter with another one. Nick Castellanos or Luis Robert Jr. Who are you taking rest of the season? He wants to know rest of the season. Who you got?
I mean, obviously Castellanos not getting any steals like Lubob, but going to Castellanos. He was so bad in the first half. He's got to make up for it in the second half. He's been doing it. It's not just a matter of Phillies versus White Sox, but that does matter. It really has to matter to some extent. So I'm going to go Castellanos. I think he's going to finish strong.
I hope you're right. I mean, he's a guy I just have in my lineup every week, and I don't feel like he really kills me or really helps me. He's just kind of there. So I hope at some point he starts helping me. All right, Anthony, what's up? Anthony, just getting in. Good to see you. Let's see. All right, so Super Dave, back to the keeper question. So he keeps 8 with no penalty. So he's got Judge, Soto, Witt, Harper, Trey Turner, Cole, and probably Caminero. That's 7. And then he'll have to decide between Carroll and Merrill. He'll figure out who to keep last. So, yeah, definitely got plenty of keepers there. So, yeah, just go for the
Yeah.
guys.
So, again, that shouldn't even – I mean, there's no way anybody – not just from the list you mentioned earlier, but anybody out in the waiver wire, they're not jumping up over any of those guys. So don't even worry about keeper value at this point. So who's going to help you rest of the season? I'm still in on Pivetta. I think he's still going to be good.
All right, are you ready? Are you ready for Solomon Grundy? Welcome back, Solomon. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Is Max Fried droppable? He is killing my ERA. Back on June 29th, he had a 2.91 ERA. As it stands today, his ERA is up almost a full point to 3.62. He's given up 3 or more earned runs in 3 straight games. Are you ready to give up on Max Fried?
I'm not ready to give up on Max Fried. I mean, if you look at his season-long stats, they're really not bad. I know we expect better. Feels like lately he hasn't been good, but he hasn't really killed you lately. He's just not giving you what you want. His last start, 3 earned runs in 5 1/3. That's not that bad. I think he's going to continue to get better down the stretch. So not really droppable in a 12-team league. You shouldn't have to drop him. I'm going to hold on.
All right, Alberto. So going back to his question, remember he's the one that asked about the best 1-start streamer. He said Sears is not available. He said who was the other guy not available? Whoever the other person you mentioned, I forget. Tobias Myers, I think is who you mentioned, not available. So Nick, you also mentioned Nick Martinez. He's available, but so is Bowden Francis. So if you have to choose between these 2 guys, who are you taking?
I'm going Nick Martinez.
1-start streamer this week.
Yeah.
Although maybe you can still think about long term.
I will say, if you're not in a weekly league, weekly head-to-head, you don't have to worry about 2-start streamers as much because it really doesn't matter because you can pick up and add at any point. So there's no huge advantage. But I will just say this. I like Nick Martinez in general. I know Francis has been much better lately as far as compared to the first half, but it's not like he's been significantly better or really better than Martinez. I like Nick Martinez better overall.
All right, there you go. Go with Nick Martinez if you have to choose. Super Dave with another one. Isn't Nolan Jones platooning with Beck now? Is he?
Nolan Jones has had a hard time staying in the lineup. I think they're kind of managing him as far as, because he continues to be hurt. I don't know if it's a strict platoon necessarily. But yeah, I mean, Nolan Jones, I hate to call him a bust because a lot of it's been injury related. Yeah, he's not even playing. So I don't even know if I don't think he's even active right now. So I mean, he's activated, but we don't know what he's going to do. I guess he's going to be activated. I don't know if we can say exactly what the plan is for him. I would be surprised if he platoons. Um, I would hold on to him because even if he's a platoon player, he's on the strong side of a platoon and he still has that upside. So I think you're going to have to hold on to him.
All right. There you go, Super Dave. All right, Josh. What is up, Josh? Here we go. Are you picking Adolis Garcia or Jake McCarthy rest of the season?
Ooh. Wow. All right. Here we go. Adolis is starting to turn it around. He's starting to turn it around. Kind of figured this would happen. This is, again, a player that I've been saying, I know it's rough, but there's no reason he can't. And he is. He's starting to turn around. And Jake McCarthy has been super hot. But again, just think of these two players. I think you know the answer here. It's got to be Adolis Garcia. Jake McCarthy will cool down at some point. And Adolis is really just starting to heat up. The power is so much more significant with Garcia. McCarthy can get you some steal, sure, but it's not like he's a stolen base machine. I think you got to go with Adolis. I mean, if you can pick up both, that would be ideal.
All right, yeah, if you can get both. Otherwise, Adolis. All right, Jorge Maldonado wants to know Caminero or Burger. He's got to drop one of them.
Man, we're saving the tough ones for last. You cannot drop the player who has been objectively the best power hitter of the second half of the season, which is Jake Burger. I mean, he just is. This guy will not stop hitting home runs. You can't drop him now. So I guess if you have to drop one, it's Caminero.
All right. Back-to-back Nate with another one. So you're in the playoffs. Does your streaming strategy change in a head-to-head categories league?
I mean, I wouldn't say it changes much because you still want to, you still want to go for the most upside. You don't want to take any unnecessary risks. It might change depending on your opponent. Like if you might have an opponent that has a lot deeper of a staff of rotation, right? They might throw out 5-6 pitchers. They might be more active streaming. And so if you're just running into a battle, of quantity versus quality, yeah, you might have to change in terms of you might have to be more active on your side. And I always like doing this. I know some people don't think this way, but I like to play defense. If that guy's going to go pick up a streamer, I'm going to pick him up before he does. I don't even need him, but I don't want my opponent to have him. So I will still be active on that front. I'm going to pick up some of the hottest players. I'm going to pick up some of the best options, not just because I feel like I want them or need them. I don't want my opponent to have them and use them against me. So I'm always going to try to pick up the best options regardless. And that just kind of talks to being active all the way to the end. Don't say, well, I'm good. I don't like, who do I need to replace? I don't need you. Maybe you don't need it. Maybe you have the deepest rotation ever. Great. But do you really need that bench bat that's not going to hit your lineup? Okay, drop him and pick up the other, the 2-start streamer that you think your opponent might use.
There you go. All right, Andrew, we kind of talked about this already a little bit. You probably missed it. Wilson Contreras or Austin Wells rest of the season?
Yeah, there's the same question here. I don't have any reason not to be, Contreras. He's been solid. There's nothing that he's doing that makes me doubt that he'll be a solid option. He's not the most exciting necessarily for fantasy, but you don't need exciting. You need consistent. He's getting you power. His average isn't hurting you. I know Wells has been better lately the last couple of weeks. This is pretty close, but I'll probably just stick with Contreras if I have him.
All right, there you go. Thank you. Now, Alberto has another one. It's a 5-hitter keeper league. So I assume you're picking 5 of these. So who would you pick between Lindor, James Wood, Luis Robert, Kettle, Naylor, Tatis, and J-Rod. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're picking 5 out of these 7. Which 5 would make the cut? Which 2 do not?
Well, as disappointing as J-Rod has been, he has to be one. I mean, you got to keep him. Tatis, as much as he has been injured, you're going to want to keep him too. James Wood is pretty much a no-brainer. You've got to keep him. I think the way Ketel Marte has been hitting, you're going to have to keep him. I like Naylor, but I think I'll keep Lindor over him. So that's the toss-up here. I think it's between Lindor and Naylor, but I'll go Tatis, J-Rod, Ketel, Wood, and Lindor, because Lindor is getting you the steals plus the power, and Naylor's not.
All right, there you go. Thank you for that. Anthony wants to know, we talked about Reynaldo Lopez a little bit earlier. Are you ready to throw him out there right away against the mighty Phillies?
Now, that's a good question, because earlier asked, would you keep him? You want to activate him? Yeah. But it doesn't mean you have to start him in his very first start back off a forearm, soreness against the Phillies. Just because of the matchup, I'll sit him. So I'm not going to put him in my lineup against Philly. But after that, unless something goes horribly wrong, then I'll probably just put him back in there.
All right, there we go. Oh, wait, we got one more. James Coffey right under the gun here. Thoughts on a starting pitcher, Royals pitcher. Oh my gosh, what am I saying? Thoughts on Royals starting pitcher Michael Wacha. Rest of the season he's available. I picked him up I think it was last week, and he was terrible. But anyways, what are your thoughts on
that? Very hit or miss, right? Very hit or miss. But lately he's been pretty good. I don't know, who does he get this week? I guess that really would be my question. It depends. He's available. You look at his season numbers, it's solid. He's not killing you too often. So he's more of a floor play, but let me see who he gets. Who does he get this week? Looks like he's going to gets the Phillies. That's a problem. Yeah, I don't want to roll with him. If I'm not starting Reynaldo Lopez against Phillies, I can't advocate for Wacha. So rest of the season, though, yeah, I think Waka's fine. Rest of the season, again, get you a floor. So I think I'm okay with you picking up Wacha. I don't know if I want to start him this week.
All right, there you go. Okay, now we are all caught up on the chats, and Super Dave said here he needs to stop. He's becoming a sicko with best ball. We are as well, and we are about to go do a best ball draft over on the football channel. So if you are getting ready for your fantasy football leagues, your fantasy football drafts, come join us over there. Even if you don't have an underdog account and don't want to draft an underdog, watch us draft, get some insights. Of course, this channel is all about baseball, and we're still here to help you with the rest of the baseball season. We got Panic coming tomorrow. We got Beat the Breakout still coming out for those stashes. We still got Waiver Wire every week, which is still incredibly important this time of year. And, of course, we'll still be streaming with you on Sundays at least until the football season starts, and then we won't be able to. But at least from now until the football season starts, we'll be back here on Sunday, which means we'll be back here next Sunday. So make sure you're back here and check it out with us. And, of course, if for some reason you're catching this and you've never heard us before and you haven't subscribed or liked, go ahead and do that, because we do this all year long. Even when the season ends, we'll still be making baseball content. So appreciate you guys being on here. Hopefully we'll see some of you over on the football channel. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.